Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to the chemistry class, and we are discussing the group 16, that means oxygen family elements, and today we will start from ozone. Ozone can be conveniently prepared by passing silent, that means sparkless electric discharge through pure cold and dry oxygen, and the apparatus used for this purpose is called ozonizer. Okay, here one ozonizer diagram is there. Generally two types of ozonizers that we are used, okay, commonly for the production of ozone. One is the Siemens ozonizer and another is the Brady's ozonizer. But in your syllabus only Siemens is there, Siemens ozonizer is there, that I will discuss. Okay. So in this Siemens ozonizer here diagram is drawn. Okay, it consists of two coaxial glass tubes fused together at one end. Okay, and there is inlet. Okay, this is the inlet. Okay, for pure and dry oxygen, cold oxygen that will enter. Okay, and another is outlet is there. That outlet will come out that ozonized oxygen. Okay, and the inner side of the inner tube or outside of the outer tube, okay, are coated with the tin foils. These are the tin foils, both inner side and outsides are coated. Okay, and the inner and outer coating are connected to the two terminals of induction coil. Here is the induction coil. The inner and outer coating are attached to this induction coil, so we can understand from this diagram. Okay, and which produce the current of high voltage. A slow stream of pure dry oxygen is passed through this annular space. A silent sparkless electric discharge is passed through the oxygen. As a result, you will get 10% ozone. Okay, and others will be the oxygen. So it comes along with oxygen. This is called the ozonized oxygen. Okay, and it is collected. Now what is the condition? Here we are getting only the 10% ozone, but what is the condition for the beta yield? Okay, so you have to use fairly low temperature around 273 Kelvin. Okay, that you have to maintain. Next, pure and dry oxygen should be used. Whatever we are using, pure and dry oxygen is required, and ozonizers should be kept dry. Okay, and there should not be any moisture, and when you are passing this electric that means spark, okay, no, there should not be any spark. Okay, silent discharge you have to use. Hope you can understand. So in order to obtain pure ozone from ozonized oxygen, it is cooled with liquid air. When ozone condenses as a deep blue liquid, while oxygen remains as gas at this temperature, and pure ozone, okay, is obtained by this fractional distillation of this deep blue liquid. Okay, that is the ozone. Okay, and pure ozone can also be obtained by passing ozonized oxygen through silica gel. Silica gel will absorb this ozone and leaving behind the oxygen. Later, by passing nitrogen and argon gas, that ozone will be removed. Okay, it will come out from this silica gel. In this way, we can collect the ozone, pure ozone. Okay. Next, we will discuss the thermal decomposition of ozone. At room temperature, it decomposes very slowly to give oxygen, but around 473 Kelvin, it decomposes very rapidly. Okay, in presence of the catalyst MnO2 and CO, or you can use platinum back. Okay, that catalyzes this decomposition reaction, and you will get that oxygen. So here, what is happening? That twice O3 is forming thrice O2, and here using catalyst is MnO2, and temperature will be around I think 273 Kelvin. Okay, sorry, it will be 473 Kelvin, not 273. 473 Kelvin, higher temperature is required. Okay, so next we will discuss the oxidizing property. Ozone is a very good and powerful oxidizing agent, and when ozone will decompose, it will produce nascent oxygen, oxygen and atomic oxygen. Okay, nascent oxygen it will produce, and this oxygen will oxidize the black lead sulfide to the lead sulfate. Whenever you are taking this ozone, it will react with this. That means here actually ozone is reacting, and that will produce that nascent oxygen, and there will be formation of PbSO4, lead sulfate, and there will be formation of also oxygen. Okay, and here you have to balance it. Here if you put 4 here, and if you put 3 here, 6 plus 4, 10, 4 or 3, you have to put 4. Now I think it is balanced. Okay, now it oxidizes potassium iodide solution. Okay, buffered with a borate buffer to iodine. Okay, so it is reacting with that potassium iodide Ki, that will react with this ozone and water. And what will happen? You will get iodine. Iodine plus KOH plus O2. Now this thing you have to balance. If you put twice Ki here, so iodine is balanced. You have to put twice KOH. Okay. Total oxygen 3 plus 1, 4. Now it is balanced. Hope you can understand. And next we will discuss the reaction of ozone with mercury. Actually, mercury is oxidized to mercurous oxide Hg2O. Okay, and it loses meniscus and sticks to the glass, and this is called the tailing of mercury. Very important term. Okay, and this can be used for the test of oxygen. Hope you can understand what is the reaction. Reaction is Hg is reacting with ozone, forming Hg2O. There is mercurous oxide, and there will be formation of oxygen. Now here you have to put 2. Now I think it is balanced. Okay, and this is called tailing of mercury, the sticking of this Hg2 on the glass surface. Okay. Next we will discuss the use. Ozone acts as a germicide and disinfectant, and in the manufacture of artificial silk and different types of things like camphor. Okay, and sometimes for bleaching oils we are using this ozone, and delicate fabric and wash bleaching also. Okay, and for oxidizing potassium permanganate to potassium manganate to potassium permanganate, this ozone is used. Okay, so in this way we have completed the discussion of ozone. Next, another compound is given in your syllabus, that is the sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide, that is SO2. Okay, so you know that how it is prepared in the laboratory. We have many times prepared. Okay, so you have to take sodium sulfide. If you add dilute sulfuric acid, definitely it will produce sulfur dioxide gas. There will be formation of Na2SO4, sulfur dioxide and water. So what we are doing, that sodium sulfide we reacting with H2SO4. Definitely it will produce sulfur dioxide gas, plus there will be formation of sodium sulfate and water. Okay, so in this way we are preparing this sulfur dioxide gas in the laboratory, and this gas after drying is liquefied under pressure and stored in a steel cylinders. And what is the industrial preparation? By burning sulfur in air, that means sulfur is reacting with oxygen forming sulfur dioxide. This is one process by which sulfur dioxide is prepared in large scale, that means industrially. Or we can take that iron pyrites, okay, by the roasting of sulfides, okay. Actually, what is happening in this method, okay, sometimes there will be mixture of very trace amount of sulfur dioxide will be there. So sulfur is not only forming sulfur dioxide, that means when we are burning this sulfur, okay, there will be formation of sulfur dioxide also. So this is the better method, that is the when you are roasting that sulfide ores, you can take ferrous sulfide, that is FeS2, and when FeS2, that is iron pyrite, is when you are burning in presence of oxygen, okay, definitely they will produce sulfur dioxide gas, Fe2O3 plus sulfur dioxide gas, okay. Now this thing you have to balance, okay. If you put 4 here, then you have to put 2. If you put 11, okay, then sulfur will be the 8SO2. Now I think it is balanced, okay. And another thing, you can take that lead sulfide, zinc sulfide, that will also react with this oxygen, forming that corresponding lead oxide or zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide gas. Next we will discuss the reaction with caustic soda. It forms two types of salts. One is acid salt, okay, or we can tell that bisulfite, and another will form that normal salt, okay, and normal salt will be the like sodium sulfide, okay. So NaOH is reacting with sulfur dioxide, it is forming NaSO3H. Okay, and another, that twice NaOH reacting with this, or you can write NaHSO3, and another we can write that NaOH will react with this sulfur dioxide, forming Na2SO3 plus water. I have to check whether it is balanced. 2 oxygen, 4 oxygen, 3 plus 1, 4 oxygen, this is balanced. Now this one is the acid salt, having the one replaceable hydrogen, and this is the normal salt, okay, no replaceable hydrogen. Hope you can understand. So that means whatever we are telling, that it reacts with the chlorine, okay, in presence of that sunlight, that means sulfur dioxide gas, okay, to form sulfuryl chloride, okay. So SO2 is reacting with this chlorine, forming SO2Cl2 in presence of sunlight. This is the reaction with halogen or chlorine, okay, and the reaction show that sulfur dioxide is an unsaturated compound. Next reaction is there in your syllabus, that is the reaction with KMnO4 solution. When you are passing the sulfur dioxide gas, many times you have read that the violet color of the KMnO4 or the purple color of the KMnO4 will become colorless, because KMnO4 manganese in +7 state, it is going to manganese sulfate, where manganese is +2 state, okay. So what is the reaction? We will write here that KMnO4 will react with sulfur dioxide plus water, that will form that manganese sulfate MnSO4. There will be formation of potassium sulfate, there will be formation of H2SO4 also, okay. Now in this case you have to balance this equation. If you put 2 here and here also you have to put 2, then here you have to put 2 here. Now hydrogen will be 2 here. Now I think this equation is balanced. That means twice KMnO4, 5 SO, here we forget to put this 5 SO2, okay, total sulfur will be here 2, and here 1, and here 2, 5 SO2 plus twice H2O, okay, that will produce twice MnSO4, K2SO4 plus twice H2SO4, okay. So in this way we have completed the group 16 elements, study of group 16 elements. Next we will discuss group 17 elements. All of you know the members are fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine. Okay. So these are the group members of this group, and these groups are collectively known as halogens because they are sea salt former. All elements of this family have the general outer electronic configuration, that is NH2 NP5. Okay. So they have 7 valence electron. Okay. And if they accept 1 electron, they will get the nearest noble gas structure. So definitely they will show the valency 1. And because of presence of d orbital in case of chlorine to astatine, okay, they can form, okay, 1 unpaired electron, 3 unpaired electron, 5 as well as 7. So their valency will vary, 1, 3, 5, 7 they will show. Next we will discuss their oxidation state. Halogens have 1 electron less than the noble gas configuration, so therefore the halogens tend to acquire the noble gas configuration by gaining 1 electron. We can tell that fluorine has minus oxidation state in HF, but chlorine has minus 1 oxidation state in HCl. But whenever you are thinking that HClO, definitely here oxidation state of chlorine will be plus 1, but ClF3 chlorine will be plus 3. ClO2 chlorine will be plus 4, and HClO3 it will be plus 5, and Cl2O6 the oxidation state of chlorine will be plus 6, and when we are considering the perchloric acid HClO4, definitely its oxidation number will be plus 7. Okay. Other elements, okay, they also show that plus 3, plus 5, plus 6, plus 7 oxidation states. Okay. We can think about that iodine. Iodine Hi is minus 1. When we are thinking about ICl it is plus 1. When it is IF3, then it is iodine oxidation state will be plus 3, and when it is IF5, it is plus 5, and when it is IF7, that will be the plus 7. Next we will go to the general trends in the physical properties. First one is atomic radii. The atomic radii of the elements of halogens family are similar, okay, or not similar, are smaller, okay, than the previous one, okay, that means oxygen family. And if you consider after that what I am telling, that noble gases, okay, in case of noble gases their atomic radii will be higher, so this halogen family will be less, and this atomic radii is increasing, okay, when you are going from top to bottom, okay, in a group. Why? Because in each period you are adding a new cell, so successive addition of new cell increases the atomic radii from fluorine to chlorine to bromine to iodine to astatine. Next we will discuss the ionization enthalpies. Halogens have high ionization potential value, and these ionization enthalpies values of halogens decreases down the group as the size of the halogens increases down the group. Next one we will discuss that electron gain enthalpy. Halogens have high electron gain enthalpy value. Chlorine has the highest electron gain enthalpy value, all of you know, among the halogens. And the electron gain affinity value of the halogens, okay, decreases down the group from chlorine to bromine to iodine to astatine. Okay. Next one is the electronegativity. Halogens, due to their small size and high value of nuclear charge, have high electronegativity values, and fluorine, you know that fluorine has the highest electronegativity. In electronegativity scale, it has the value 4, chlorine will be 3, bromine will be 2.8, and iodine will be 2.7. So whenever you are going down in a group, the electronegativity value decreases, okay, and as the atomic size increases, okay. Next we will discuss the melting point and boiling point. The melting point, boiling point of halogen increases with increase in their molecular size of the halogen, and this is because of the weak van der Waals force which exists between these molecules, increases with the increase in the size. We can easily understand it from their physical states. We know that fluorine and chlorine, okay, these are gas, and now bromine is liquid, and next one is the iodine. Iodine is solid. Now why iodine is solid? Because its size is larger, okay, so van der Waals force will be larger, that is why it is solid. Next we will go to the color. All these elements are colored. Fluorine is pale yellow, chlorine is greenish yellow, bromine is reddish brown, iodine is grayish violet at room temperature. And nature of the bonds without with other elements, okay, like halogens form ionic compounds with metals due to their high electronegativity values and electron gain enthalpy values, okay. With non-metals they form generally covalent bonds. Even metalloids they are forming covalent bond, and interhalogen compounds are also covalent in nature. Next we will go to the chemical properties. First we will discuss reaction with hydrogen. Reaction with hydrogen. So all of you know that fluorine and hydrogen, okay, in the dark, highly reactive, so it will react in the dark. So H2 plus F2, dark, it will form twice HF, that is hydrofluoric acid. But in case of chlorine, that hydrochloric acid formation, you need that diffuse sunlight. So H2 plus Cl2 is reacting in diffused sunlight, forming twice HCl. Next one, that hydrogen will react with bromine, forming HBr when you will apply heat. And next one is the iodine. So hydrogen and iodine reaction catalyst is required, okay, platinum catalyst. So hydrogen and iodine will react in presence of catalyst platinum, and then it will form twice HI, hydroiodic acid. Hope you can understand what I am telling. Now the acidity of this hydrogen halides, or you know these are all the acids. Definitely HI will be the highest acidic, then HBr, then HCl, then HF. So acidity decreases from HI to HBr to HCl and HF. And dipole moment of this hydrogen halide decreases from HF to HI. Okay, HF has the highest dipole moment around 1.86 dBi, then HCl 1.11 dBi, then HBr 0.79 dBi, and then HI 0.38 dBi. Okay, as electronegativity decreases from chlorine to bromine to iodine. Next one is the bond length. Okay, HI bond length will be the highest because of the higher atomic size. HI bond length will be around 160.9 picometer, and HF has the lowest bond length, that will be 91.7 because of the smaller size. Okay, so bond length increases from HF to HCl to HBr to HI, and then bond dissociation energy will be what order? So definitely HF has the highest bond dissociation energy, okay, and HI will be the lowest bond dissociation energy. So bond dissociation energy order will be hydroiodic acid, then hydrobromic acid, then hydrofluoric acid, then hydrofluoric acid. Next we will discuss the thermal stability of the hydrogen halides decreases from HF to HI, and due to decrease in the thermal stability, okay, they are reducing characters, okay, of the hydride increases from HI to from HF to HI. Okay, so HI is the strongest reducing agent. Next we will discuss the reaction with oxygen. All halogens form binary halogen oxygen compounds, like fluorine will form OF2 and O2F2, chlorine will form Cl2O, Cl2O3, Cl2O7, Cl2O6, etc. Bromine will form BrO2 and Br2O and BrO3, and iodine will also form I2O4, I2O5, I2O7, but I2O5 is the most stable. Now how these oxides are prepared? Okay, I am showing you. For the preparation of oxygen difluoride, you have to take fluorine and NaOH, and then they will form NaF plus oxygen difluoride plus there will be formation of water. Now this thing you have to balance, okay. So here if you put 2, here if you put 2, so 2. Now fluorine here you have to put 2. Now hydrogen, all are balanced, okay. And if you want to prepare that what we can tell O2F2, okay. So here you have to take fluorine gas and oxygen gas, okay, by electric discharge at low pressure and liquid air, okay, air temperature, okay, so that will produce O2F2. But if you produce Cl2, so you have to take chlorine gas and mercury oxide and you have to heat around 573 Kelvin, that will produce Cl2. If you want to produce that ClO2, then you have to take sodium chlorate and you have to react with sulfur dioxide gas in presence of acid, that will produce ClO2. And if you want to produce that Cl2O6, then you have to take ClO2 and that will react with ozone, forming Cl2O6 plus oxygen. And if you want to prepare chlorine hydroxide, then you have to take perchloric acid and you have to heat around 263 Kelvin and with an acid, that is the phosphoric acid H3BO4, that will produce Cl2O7. And the bromine oxides like Br2O, BrO2 and BrO3, okay, are the least stable, okay, halogen oxides and exist only at low temperature. But among the iodine oxides, I2,5, that means iodine pentoxides, okay, is the most stable oxides. And here, if you take that hydroiodic acid HiO3 on decomposition, it will produce I2O5 and water. So in this way, we have to read the reaction of halogens with the oxygen, okay, that is in your syllabus. And next day we will discuss the reactions with halogens and metals, okay, and interhalogen compounds. So in this way we will complete this discussion of the group 70 elements. So today up to this, thank you.